Hello everyone, welcome to my Dragonbane solo campaign chapter 3. We are still in the depths of this dungeon we've been crawling through. We'll pick up pretty much right where we left off. I hope you are all happy and doing well. Thanks for joining me. So, I said we're going to pick up right where I left off. I kind of lied. I do have a little bit of old business. Izzek has popped up through this secret chamber crawling up that he found. Marching his way up to the top of the staircase. When I was down here at the Temple of Silence, I did find a magic item. I took the time to roll up that magic item, or I should say invent that magic item. I guess it was an instrument is what I rolled as the magic item, but Izzek doesn't play an instrument, so I'm not going to do an instrument. I just kind of went with more or less just sort of a miscellaneous magic item. Of course, I did the most fun thing, exciting thing in the world. I basically made a bag of holding for Dragonbane. Is a bag of holdings, aren't they kind of like, what do you want to say about bag of holding? Like, they're not the most exciting magic item in the world. No one freaks out like they would if they got a magic sword or whatever. But nevertheless, does anyone ever cry about getting a bag of holding? I don't think so. They still remain one of the most useful magic items there is. This is no ordinary magic item or bag of holding though. It's a camouflaged elven haversack. That sounds kind of fancy and elvish, right? Increased carrying capacity by 10. Dragonbane, as you may be aware, it doesn't really use weight. It just uses inventory slots. Normally you can carry 10 items. Your mount can carry 10 items. So I kind of doubled his carrying capacity by getting this elven haversack, which is a good thing. I haven't really been maxing out. I've been unloading anything over to my mount if I need to. But this might make it nice so I don't have to worry about it going forward. I give it a silly special ability. It is a camouflaged elven haversack. When not held or worn, the haversack blends into the surroundings. A spot hidden is needed to see the haversack. So if he sets it down, it kind of blends in. Maybe that would help thieves. If any thieves come to rob him in the night, they wouldn't be able to see the haversack because it's blended in the background. I don't know. I like making magic items that are a little particular and special. You know what I mean? I don't know why it is, but maybe you're the same way. So, like getting a longsword +1, that's really boring. Why is this longsword magical? Who made it? Who's it for? Anyway, I do tend to like making things a little special. Anyway, that's a fun, silly little thing that'll never come into play. Okay, there's that. Done. Moving on. We're at the top of this hallway here. As Izzek popped out of this hallway, as I mentioned, for the first time since he's been in this dungeon, he sees signs of life, if you will. There are torches lit along the walls of this hallway. The hallway here is fairly clean, not covered in dust. He's finally reached an area of this place that appears to be inhabited. Good. He was kind of getting concerned what he was going to find, if he was going to find anything at all. He was a little worried that maybe this place was just some abandoned basement that was not going to help him in any sort of way. He's going to continue down this hallway, and sure enough, he does get to a door here on the left-hand side. It's a rather broad double door, oak door, nicely engraved with, once again, elven symbols, flowers, plants, things of that ilk, stags. It is a very ornate door, double door, closed. It's not locked. He's going to enter this room. This is the third room on our list of quest-specific rooms. This is the Arcane Library. I've actually drawn a little bit of a map for it. What the heck? Because there may be something in this library. Sometimes it's fun to kind of burrow down into the room a little bit, right? Here we go. Once again, it's just a sketch. Let's not go too crazy here. And it's still not quite scaled to size. The double doors are down here. These are all bookshelves. These are all tables with chairs. There's a top layer of books. There's some ladders scattered around here. And a walkway around the top here that go to a second layer of books upstairs. There is more of a, what do you want to call it, a large desk area back here, covered in papers, what it looks like. He comes in here and it's well lit. Once again, there seems to be magical braziers up in the ceiling hanging down, lighting this room up fairly well. I think these are bookshelves lined up. When he enters this place, he stops. I think he's going to make another awareness check to do some listening just to see. He doesn't see anything when he first goes in here. I'm going to do both two things. I think I will do an awareness for a listen and, yes, a stealth check with a Bane to see if he can move quietly through this room. I think he's going to head up through these bookshelves over here. I think he doesn't really want to call attention to himself, so he's going to try to hide in the eaves of these bookshelves and maybe try to make his way up rather than, going through this large central hallway. And let's roll some dice. Let's see. First off, an awareness. Let's see if he hears anything. A 20. Wow, that's a demon. He paused to see if he can hear anything. He can't hear anything. I can't think about a Bane for hearing. Let's see. What are her dragon and demon effects? No. I don't see anything particular about hearing. He was just standing there. I can't think of any additional adverse reaction other than just a failure. He hears nothing. If there was a noise, he especially wouldn't hear anything. Let's roll sneak at a Bane. Another demon. Wow, we're starting out on fire tonight. So Izzek doesn't hear anything. He starts to move down this hallway. He moves down here. He moves down here. Let's say right about here. And he, these shelves. Oh, I do have a description. Hold on, let me write. Hold on, I forgot. I wrote a description of this room. Wow, I always do that. Here it is. You enter an ancient library. Shelves line the walls and form long aisles throughout the room. Most shelves are empty or half full of books that crumble to the touch. Clues to the past remain in here hidden. Find a clue about how you may put an end to things. The ancient librarian also resides here hidden. But with that Bane, as he approaches up in here, he knocks over a bunch of books off of one of these shelves, making a rather large noise because this room is very quiet and as far as he could tell is empty. He hears a horrendous groan from somewhere in this half of the room and movement from this half of the room. He stops still. He tries to shrink back between these two bookshelves over here, but this groaning footsteps that's coming towards him seems to know exactly where he is. Maybe we could play a little game of cat and mouse. Maybe I will try to sneak again at a Bane to see if maybe I can sneak around a corner and play hidden. But like I said, he's still going to be at a Bane. Another Another demon. Wow, okay. So Izzek pops here around the corner, stays very silent, very still, not even willing to breathe, but to no avail. The librarian finds him pretty easily as the librarian peeks around the corner. And the librarian sees him in a gravelly, whispery voice. It says, "Present your pass." Izzek realizes there's no longer how he looks. And this being is a strange, larger than human-sized figure, seemingly made out of paper or wrapped in paper. He is covered in paper and books. Book bindings are wrapped around its arms, around its shoulder blades, around its legs. Paper is pressed against it, knotted and rolled up and crunched up. It's almost like a mummy made out of paper, more or less. You can tell from the figure it's a mummy. I don't know if you remember when I first did a bonus episode way back and made the NPCs for this chapter with the vacant Empire Elves. I said I'd like to make a monster. I did make a monster. The paper librarian, based off the mummy in the bestiary of a sort, but of my own creation. Izzek did have a chance to try to avoid the mummy. That didn't work. He might have a chance to talk to this mummy. maybe bluff him. He might have a chance. If combat occurs, or maybe before I leave, I'll read the mummy and everything he does. But I think Izzek is going to try to maybe bluff his way out of this situation. Let's see. Izzek says, pass. I'm afraid I lost my pass. I came in here to get a replacement. Let's see if the mummy buys this. I have a bluff of what? A 5? Do I give myself a bane? I don't know. I don't think I need to give a bane. I don't think there's a reason to give a bane, but on a boon for every roll I do. I think this is just a bluff is fine. A 9. Do I want to try to push this roll? Let's see, where am I at? Izzek is disheartened. But otherwise, he doesn't have any other conditions. I don't really want to get a bane. Jeez. Maybe I will try. Boy, should I push. This mummy's actually very nasty, this paper librarian. I'd like not to fight him. I'm going to try to push it. Yeah, I'll try to push it. What the heck? I want to check the angry box. Give myself a condition here. I'm going to try to push that roll. I'll try bluffing again. Oh, what do you know? I succeeded on that push. The mummy stands silently for a second. I'm sure I should say the paper librarian stands silent for a second. And then it finally says, "What's the name?" Well, Izzek only knows the name of one elf from this area. That's the elf that gave him this mission. That was the prince whose name was scrawled on the monument when he first entered these lands. That's the only name he knows. He says, "Nariman, my name is Nariman." The mummy says, "Nariman." And he starts to walk back this way. And Izzek follows him at least part of the way. The librarian reaches this back of his desk, pulls out this huge tome, and begins to slowly search for names in this tome. This paper librarian, clearly some sort of magical creature, undead creature, but it moves very slow. It does not seem to be any sort of rush, and it's scrolling down this book, and it looks totally silently. Every once in a while, under his breath, it mentions Merriman. I don't think Izzek's going to press his luck any more than that. I think he's going to take this attempt to maybe just take a look at these bookshelves and see if he can see anything. I've given myself a bane on spot hidden now, unfortunately, with taking that angry roll. But that's about it. Let's. I think Izzek is going to just kind of quickly scan these shelves. And let's see. He will go here. Let's see if he can do any spot hiddens and see if there's anything of any interest on these shelves. A dragon and a 15, that is unfortunately a failure. These books are indeed, they do have books on these shelves, but they're like half full. Some of the books are decayed. All of them appear to be in ancient Elvish, a language he does not speak. So they're all kind of meaningless to him. Some are held together pretty well. This is still seems to be something of a functional library. I don't know. Anyway, he didn't find anything there. He's trying to look pretty quickly, and he's going through the tomes just to see if he can see anything that's in common that he can read. I think that's how he's going to quickly just look. Because if they're all in ancient Elvish, unless there's something like specifically that stands out to him that he thinks he can do something with, he's going to keep scanning the title hurriedly. He does, read and write that ancient common, and he has found things in that ancient common. So that's mainly what he's looking for. I think he's going to go over here and search as well. I'm going to give Izzek, maybe starting now, I'm going to give him D6 turns, or D6 searches, before this librarian finishes searching for the name Narrowman. We'll see how many spot hiddens he gets. Wow, okay. Well, Izzek's going to get 6 spot hidden checks. Yeah, okay. So he goes here. There's still all of the Bane. A dragon and a demon. What do I do with that? Well, it's still a Bane. I'm going to say he counts down 2 turns instead of just 1 for that search. He loses an extra turn as he kind of gets a little lost scanning in the aisles. I guess he does notice there are 2 special bookshelves behind this mummy that looks like they may be full of books. Maybe it's worthwhile going there? He'll do that next. He'll go up here. This mummy paper librarian says again, Narrowman. Slowly flips another page. 3 and 2. Okay. Finally, he's got a success on that spot hidden. As he's back here on this thing. He does indeed see that, this seems to be, I don't know, maybe they're, I don't want to say rare tomes section. Maybe the more unusual tomes are back in here. And laying down, actually, on the shelf, not vertically, but laying down there, it appears to be a notebook. And when he looks at it, it is written in common. On top of this notebook, and that's why it stood out to him, there is a rock. Just kind of like maybe it's put in there as a paperweight to hold the journal down. So he moves the rock and picks up this journal. And it appears to be a diary of a non-elven apprentice mage who was apprenticed here, who knows how far long ago. I kind of wrote down a bit about what this apprentice has written in the last page of this journal, so I'll rip that out and read it. All right, let's see. Here we go. Like any good true detective, he turns the page to the last page of his journal and reads, "I have finally done it. I have successfully enchanted this rock with the Stonewall spell, and the wall cast by this spell will be higher and stronger than required. Master Irvine will have to accept me in his school now. I have far surpassed the elven students here, and he cannot deny my talents despite my father being human." Scribbled in the margins is written, "Command word Robert." And it is written in that ancient form of common, which Izzek does happen to be able to read. He just reads that paragraph. He picks up the rock and pockets it, and takes the journal as well with him, since he just kind of quickly scrolled to the last page. I'm going to say it's taken him down a while to read this. You know, there could be here, but more information here, but he is getting a little worried. He kind of peeks over the paper librarian's shoulder. Looks like the librarian, looks like he's getting around the he's probably getting towards A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. How about the L's? That's right, he's up into the L's. So he's getting closer to the name to look him up in there on it. Yeah, he decides, he doesn't really know. Everything here is written Elvish, right? So he happened to found something. This is interesting, but he's a little concerned. He keeps sticking around here. What more is he going to find? He can't read any of the books in here. This undead librarian looks very terrifying. He's going to hightail it out of here, I think, and leave the librarian to his work. I think the dice roll turned out pretty good for me. I think that's fine. I don't have to fight every encounter, even though I made this kind of fun NPC, or this monster based off the mummy. Yeah, let me read it too, just for fun, right? Ferocity 2, size normal, movement 6, hit points 42, pretty chunky, no armor, but it takes half damage from piercing weapons. He is flammable, takes double damage from fire. Those sort of stats are pretty well along the lines of the mummy. What the heck, for fun, let me pull the mummy up here for you. Like I said, it's pretty loosely based off the mummy. Let's drag him out of here just for fun. Okay. There we go. There's a mummy. So yeah, I think stat-wise, this here is pretty much the same as the mummy stats. And mummy's a very tough boss. I did weaken him probably slightly compared to some of these attacks, but he's very close, really. His first ability, Curse, casts a powerful curse upon an opponent within 10 meters. Victim suffers a fear attack with a bane on their roll. It's exactly the same. Kept it the same as the mummy. Attack number 2, though, instead of this double strike, I did paper cut. The mummy swings his strong arms and attacks at 2 opponents within 2 meters. Kind of the same over here. They take 2d6 slashing damage instead of bludgeoning damage. And instead of being knocked down, I put on here, damaging if the opponent is wearing armor, his armor suffers d6 durability loss. I thought that was kind of fun and different. You don't really see attacks that force your armor to take a durability hit. You really only take your weapon takes it if you, take damage or whatever. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Third, he vomits a swarm of insects. The mummy does. Victims take deep 8 piercing with no armor has no effect on the roll. They must make a will roll or they lose their turn. I did a very similar thing. But how about a vomit of bookworms? The librarian spits a swarm of small bookworms at an opponent. The opponent takes D6 damage, becomes sickly, and exposed to disease with virulence 12. So I thought that was equivalent, I guess, I think. A little less damage. You don't lose your turn, but you can still become diseased, which could be really bad. 4, they do a deadly throw. I did a very similar thing, so I called it expulsion. and does the same thing. The 2d6 damage and thrown meters. 5, this one's strangulation, which is interesting. Much like the strangulation that I had from the octopus creature early on in the cave, very similar sort of ability here. Instead of that, I did kind of a funny one called a litany of insults. The librarian hurls a litany of insults at all opponents. All opponents become disheartened on a failed will save. If the save is failed, they lose their current turn if they have not gone yet. So yeah, there's a lose a turn here and become disheartened, which I thought was kind of funny. And the last one, he has a silence attack, which is kind of nasty. He could just D6 or D10 damage, no armor save, suffer a fail attack, and loses their turn this round if they've not already gone. Pretty nasty. I did similar, though not quite as bad. His strength 6 attack. Silence. If the librarian locks eyes with an opponent, demanding complete silence. If the opponent makes any move or noise this round, the victim suffers D8 damage. Armor has no effect and suffers a fear attack. So I only made them lose their turn. Or basically, if they don't do anything, they don't make any noise, they don't move. I guess it's kind of pretty much the same, just maybe a little less damage. Because if they move, they can skip taking the damage altogether. Anyway, I made my own monster out of that. That's fun, but I think Izzek's going to avoid fighting this monster, which is just fine. I gave him a chance. You know, he was rolling stuff with 5 skills at a Bane. So I managed to kind of make one on a push reroll. So he's going to leave this mummy to look him up, and he's going to quickly exit out of this room while this mummy searches his book and goes back to a hallway. He acquired what he needed out of that room. I think that's fine. He comes back out of that hallway. You know, I think I am going to do maybe a slight chance for a random encounter. I think we're kind of at that weird little stage where this area is kind of populated. I think anytime he exits and enters a room or a hallway, I want to treat it like a random encounter. So I think I roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, he's going to run into some elves, just like he ran into them back here. 3. Okay. No random encounters enters this hallway. Like I said, this hallway's clear. It's well lit. There are elven tapestries hanging on the wall. It's like he stepped back in time. Compared to this abandoned area down here, this area is a whole different shebang. He goes down here to this area right here. There are stairs going up right here, or a door in front of him. He's once again presented with a choice as to which direction he wants to go. Just kind of like, I guess, down here, I just kind of rolled a 50-50 die on what direction you wanted to go. Or over here, I made a choice between a door and a hallway. Well, he chose the door, because doors are more interesting than hallways. Anytime you're, same thing here, are doors more interesting than stairs? That's the question. Are doors more interesting than stairs? I think that answer is yes. I think doors are still more interesting than stairs. Yeah, he's going to go into this room. I think he will check this door, though. I'm going to do a little bit of Oracle in this case. This is going to be kind of an unknown room. So let's do a little bit of Oracle on before I even go in there. I think I might save this room for the next video. But let's quickly just check to see if this door is locked. Maybe I'll just do an Oracle roll on this, a d6, just to see if this door is locked. We'll do a typical yes, no here. 5, this door is locked. Okay. I don't think Izzek has any lockpicks. He's broken his lockpicks. He's gonna have to probably try to smash his way through, but that's gonna cause a lot of noise. That might change his opinion on this. Well, we'll take that up in the next video. We'll ponder it. I still want to go in this room, but he might have to cause a lot of noise, which is gonna, if he's gonna try to break down this door or break through this lock, that could cause him more trouble. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.